But I'd like to hear you guys' story because you have two locations, one in Pasadena, one in Willowbrook, or
That's
off
correct.
of Willowbrook?
Yeah, it's right across from the mall there on 1960.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
How did Bless Dental start, and what were some of the tribulations, tries and tribulations? I always forget that term that you guys went through. Definitely want to hear the come up story of Bless Dental. Come up story of the Stewarts.
So should you start or should I?
Go for it.
Okay, so I graduated from dental school in '88.
Okay.
And then I worked as an associate for one of the big groups for about 3 years,
Okay.
which was great because I learned a lot of things. You know, you come out of dental school and all the terms are flying around in your head, or at least in mine.
Yeah.
And I knew all the answers, but it takes a little bit to put them all together.
Okay.
And so it's kind of from a technical standpoint, as my career went through the years, I reached a moment where I realized that I was no longer having to think about things that I had done there, been there, done that, seen that, and it just all came together. And that's really a great moment in a dentist's career when it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing.
So like a athlete, you kind of created like a muscle memory for every procedure and every piece of knowledge.
That's a good analogy. I like that. But yeah, it just kind of came together. So that was technically. And then business-wise, so after about 3 years, I took over a practice there in Pasadena.
Yeah, okay.
We were living in Clear Lake, just a little bit south.
What was the practice before Bless Dental?
The practice, it was it didn't have a name. The doctor was Cliff Atwood.
Okay.
He moved up to the Conroe, out to the country, kind of semi-retired.
Got you.
And I took over a little small 800-foot, back in those days we called them a cottage practice. Because it literally looked like a little cottage you would see in the woods, a little wooden building and with a little carport on the side.
Nice.
And it was wonderful. And we've been there now almost 30 years. And, I'm seeing grandchildren of the patients that I started seeing back in 1990 or 92 when I took over.
Yeah.
So it's been a wonderful trip. But then along the lines as we grew, we went to a bigger building, another location there on Spencer Highway, and now over in our building on Fairmount Parkway. We decided we would brand. And I have to give the branding credit to Kim. That was her idea. I don't know if you want to share your thoughts on that.
So literally we were just sitting in church one day and something just struck me, and I looked at him, and in the middle of church I said, we need to name our practice like what our core beliefs are, and pretty much God is our core belief. It's certainly, the crux of who we are. And he said, all right, we'll do it. And the reason I say that with hesitation is we were tossing around having some different names like Agape Dental and just some type of biblical type names that said that we were Christians. And we had some friends say, oh my gosh, that's great. Do that. And then of course we had some friends say, don't do that. You're going to regret naming it, and so for probably a year, we just went back and forth on, are we going to call it, we thought about Stuart Smiles. I can't even remember some of them. Yeah, we had lots of different ones. Okay. And finally I said, you know what? What do we want people to know that we're all about? What's our main thing? Are we about storing up piles of money? What are we about? No, we want to be, and I stole our tagline straight out of, I don't even know, where was it in Colossians? It's a verse in the Bible, something like that. And it's basically compassion, kindness, and gentleness. And I said, that's what we're about. And we're that way not only to our patients, but probably first and foremost, we're that way to our team. Our team is real important. We try to have compassion and kindness and gentleness. And we constantly, when we're in meetings, we're constantly reiterating that, is that kindness? Is that what we're practicing? And that's really... So anyway, I just said we need to name it Bless Dental, and it might get us in trouble. People might not like it, but it's what we need to do. And he said, you got it. And so we moved forward. Honestly, I think that we lost some business because of it, because people thought that we had sold it and it was a different company. So people that have been coming to him and loved him, for years, they were like, well, I guess they sold it. So we kind of had a little bit of a bump going through that, but now we've got the DBA, and I think we've settled into it, and
Well, it's who we are.
That's good.
You know, there's so many people I hear every day. I'm scared of the dentist. Nothing personal, doc, but I hate the dentist.
Yeah.
And most of the time, that relates back to an experience they had as a child.
Mhm.
And, you know, maybe the dentist was not the kindest or the most gentle.
Yeah.
And so our mission is to try and change the view of what a trip to the dentist is.
Yeah.
Regardless of religion, you know, we treat anyone and everyone, of course,
Mhm.
but we want to do it with compassion,
Mhm.
with kindness, and with gentleness. And if we can do that at the end of the day, we've had a successful day.
Yeah. And it's interesting that
Yesterday, the same patient I told you about that we took the little root tips out, he was super nervous and he was
Yeah.
asking me all kinds of questions. And we got the dad goat count going here.
Oh, this is my favorite.
He walks in the room and I said, hey, I didn't call you sweetie, did I? I didn't call you.
You probably
sweetie.
did.
Right.
It's
Hey-
okay.
Hey,
I'll be sweetie. I'm Dr. Sweetie.
Dr. Sweetie.
Our patient here is super nervous, so just wanted you to know that. And he goes, "Oh, that's so great because I'm super nervous too." And he said, "Don't worry about it. I watched a YouTube video last night. We got this." So fortunately, the patient took off running. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Hopefully they laughed.
You know,
That was a risky joke to make.
it is, but I do it all the time. It's an icebreaker. Patients, I'm really nervous. I say, I am too. I've never done this before, but it's going to be okay
My
because I watched it
favorite-
on YouTube
my
last night.
favorite
It
one,
just
though-
breaks the ice.
I'm hijacking your COVID talk, but my favorite
Go ahead.
one, we were probably pretty newly married, and I am actually a teacher by trade. I went to school to be a teacher.
Okay.
In fact, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, that you paid all that money to U of H because I taught for 1 year and then
Hey,
I
at
met-
least
I
it
met a
was in
dentist.
state.
That's true.
There you go.
That's
That's
true.
true.
Yeah, and public school. So I met a dentist who said, "Hey, do you want to work with me?" And so I never taught.
Who
But
was that?
I'll tell you later. I don't want you to know about him. I know. Anyway, and so one of my favorite stories when we were first working together, we were excited and we had this new practice and he was up there and we were up there on like a Saturday and he was putting shelves up and the phone rang and I'm like answering the phone and it's some guy who broke a tooth and I was like, well, we happen to be up here. Come on up. So he came up. Really nice guy, got him in the chair, got him seated and everything. I was like, okay, well, let me go get the doctor for you and we're going to, take care of your tooth. And he walks in with a freaking Black & Decker drill and he revs it up like this and he goes, I hear somebody needs some dental work. And he revs the drill and I was like, oh my gosh, this is
True
what I'm
story.
married to. I'm married to the dad joke.
I'm married to the dad
jokes.
jokes.
You were dad jokes before dad jokes.
I
You
know.
made dad jokes before dad jokes
When
were
my
popular.
kids started saying that's a dad joke, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I thought they were just telling me I was boring.
So you don't have to be a dad to make dad jokes, right?
No, you do not. I've been criticized for making a large number of dad
I
jokes.
love
You're going to make a good dad someday.
Yeah, I've been practicing with these dad jokes.
I love it. That's good.
Yeah, my dad too. Oh man, me and my siblings would give him a lot of criticism on some of the jokes that he would make. But I think that's part of the repertoire. As soon as especially if you haven't made dad jokes before, and then you have your first child, I believe is part of protocol.
Yeah, they won't let you go home from the hospital.
Yeah,
without
they're
a
like,
baby.
all right, we
It's
need you
obligatory.
to. Yeah, they're like, we need you to recite some of these jokes.
Yeah.
Take them home with you,
Exactly.
practice them. This is your life now. You're not funny anymore.
You think you are.
yeah, you think you're hilarious, but you're not.
That's funny.